It's been a hot minute since I've done an Invisalign update. So it is the 15th of December and I have realized that it's probably been 4 or 5 months since I did the part 2 Invisalign update. I have little updates in my vlogs. If you've seen, I've done like scans, I've done small updates in the weekly and daily vlogs that I've done in the past. I am actually on my 3rd set of trays now. So we started with 20 back in last January. Wow, we're almost a full year into it. So we started with 20 and then we had 11 and now we're on 9. So it's gonna end up being 40 total. It's not 40 weeks exactly because in between each set of trays, it has taken 2 to 3 weeks to get them created and given to me. And then now, some of the tray sets I needed to keep in for a bit longer. This tooth was struggling to come down on the last tray, so I actually kept the last tray number 6 in for 10 days instead of 7, and then the last one I kept in for almost a week and a half also, because they just said if it wasn't coming down and getting to the bottom of the attachment, just to not change it yet. So kept it in for a little bit longer, and so now I'm 2 weeks behind technically in full. So I started 8, even though today I was supposed to start 9. So we're making do. Actually, only makes me 1 week behind. So back on October 3rd, I went and got my teeth rescanned because they asked if I was ready to be done with Invisalign or if I wanted to continue. And I said, please continue, because it's not quite where I want it to be yet. The dentist that I met with that wasn't my Invisalign dentist, when I was getting my cleaning, told me that it's very likely that the first part of the transition for your teeth is going to happen the fastest and the most drastically. And then that same amount of time is how long the fine tuning is going to take. So for me, that's pretty much almost where we're landing now. We had 20 weeks at the very beginning where radical changes, my top was becoming a perfect arc, the teeth were getting pulled down, the front was getting really good on the bottom set of my teeth. And then we needed, at this point, 20 more sets of trays in order to reach this point. On October 3rd, I got my teeth rescanned because they realized that my bite still wasn't matching in the back, which I could tell that it wasn't matching, but they needed to actually see it on the scan and be like, oh, there's like a lot of a gap still there. And I was like, yeah, there is.
Your bite now.
So it feels better than it did at the start, but I know it's supposed to still be a little closer.
Do you feel like it's touching at the back at all?
Not a lot, like a little bit. It honestly feels like it's touching more on the right side, but like it doesn't feel like they're touching enough that when I chew, I still can't eat certain foods because I can't chew it enough to like make it small.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel like they're touching.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this is now, and we are going to go here. So try to bring them down more.
Okay. So I did mention in my first Invisalign update, I was really struggling to chew lots of foods, not because my teeth hurt, but because in the back they weren't touching, because the front teeth got pulled down in different ways that now the back wasn't actually hitting in the same places. When I straightened out a lot of my teeth, they got a little bit longer. So that made it really important for us to pull down the molars so that the front wouldn't end up chipping, because if the front is really long and the back doesn't have it to support it, I've been told there's a likelihood that my teeth could end up chipping if all the pressure falls onto my front teeth instead of my molars. So when I got this new last set of trays, my goal, and what I told them my goal was to pull this tooth down. When I met with them on the 3rd, I was still noticing, and I was telling the dentist that every single time I got a new set of trays or I was putting in the next week, this tooth wasn't fully pulling down to the bottom of the tray. So every time I would put them in, they were like, they're supposed to grow down and pull themselves to the bottom. And I was like, that's not happening in like a week every time. They submitted that my intention and what I wanted was not only for my molars to touch, because that was like a general understood like requirement, which honestly still isn't really happening a ton, which that's their thing to deal with, but I'm not feeling my teeth touching in the back fully like I did from before this whole process started, but they are better than they were after 20 weeks and after the 11 weeks. So we are progressing. I'm just not sure if it's as fast as they want it to, but we'll see. And this tooth, of course, being my main goal, this one has grown beautifully to be quite level with the rest of them. So this side looks wonderful, very happy with it. This side this baby tooth is just still like, I know it's at an angle here, like the bottom of it's just a different shape, but even in the back I can feel like it's like turned, and the other side, like it's smooth around my mouth, and then there's like a boop, like a bump, and then the rest of my mouth goes around on the right side here. So that was my biggest goal, was to get that. And it's still not where I want it to be, and I will communicate that with them when I see them. Again, happy with how everything's gone so far, but it's important to communicate and articulate if it's not quite what you want, because you don't want to pay for this entire process and then just be like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't the end result that I've had hoped for. These are my teeth and my smile now. It's awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big fan of how it's turning out. Like, I'm really loving it. Of course, I developed quite a few cavities during this process.
You know you're getting some cavities.
One, there's no fluoride in the water here, and I grew up with fluoride in my water, so my teeth are just suffering a little bit generally. And two, Invisalign, they said that's actually super common to have some kind of like decalcification in different areas in my teeth because they were already prone to that. That's just what that's just what happened. So yeah, love the smile. We see a radical transformation in my smile since day one, right? It's bonkers. I'm so happy with how straight my teeth are now, with how like just like my smile looks in photos. You can definitely see the difference. I really wanted to film this today because in a few days I have my final appointment, which is when I was supposed to be done with every single tray. However, because I was instructed with this last set of 5 in this last group of 9, when I was given them, I was told that if my tooth here isn't down touching the base of the tray at the end of the week, I shouldn't proceed to the next week. So there have been 2 sets of trays where I have kept them in for either 10 days or 14 days to let the tooth come down a little bit more. Because in all the projections, it moves down on pace. And then when it doesn't, I need to give it more time. So when I did that, I've of course fallen behind. So Monday was supposed to be when I was done with all 9. I have just started tray number 8. So in 4 or 5 days when I go in, I will still have another, and I've informed them of that, but it's important that I didn't change them as quickly because it wasn't pulling itself down, meaning the gap that was left for the attachment in the tray wasn't actually going to grab onto the attachment in the way that it was intended. So that's where we're at right now. I am patient, like I said. The only reason that I was getting a little antsy about it is because with my work benefits and with dental, it expires on the year. Invisalign isn't actually covered at all, but I can submit it in like for a tax deduction, like a medical tax deduction, because it's a large expense. So I will be doing that on my taxes this coming year, but I didn't want to lose all the benefits that I had for getting cavities fixed because I usually use that benefit in its entirety every year because of how I know my teeth get. So losing this entire calendar year's benefits worth that I've paid into for dental was going to be very frustrating. So I had let them know a couple of months ago that we were running up against this timeline, but you can't get cavities fixed when you're in the middle of Invisalign. You have to be done with it. They have to take the attachments off, and that's it, you're done. According to my dentist anyway. So I was kind of running up against that with this tooth and this timeline, and I finally came to the realization of like, don't rush this process if you're not happy with it. Tommy really helped get me there too. He's just like, don't settle for your teeth not being where they are just because you want to use that. You know, you'll have the benefits next year, and even though they'll reset, I don't get the money carried over. But my teeth in this process right now, we just need to keep going if it's not what I want. And that's just what we're gonna do. So I know it's also kind of trivial when it comes to the amount that I'll have to pay in difference, but like 80% coverage for dental here for me is like a big deal, right? Like I'm not made of money. So I really wanted to make sure that if I was going to push it to the next year, that we were actually gonna see some progress. And I'm hoping we do. And I'm just looking forward to the final product at some point. I'm not getting antsy yet about how annoyingly long it's taken. To be honest, the year's really flown by. I've had very minimal painful Invisalign trays since the very first week because my body was just getting used to the new everything. Tray number 7, honestly, on this current batch was a nightmare. Like I felt like they had skipped 3 or 4 trays and bumped me to this, because then this one has felt like I haven't really changed much, but
I read the numbers and I did it correctly. Like I did put in number 7 right after number 6, and it was horrendous. Like it was like my mouth hurt for 4 days, and that hasn't happened since the first week. Normally I get a little bit of jaw ache and I get a headache the following day because I'll put them in during the night, and then I will wake up the next day and be like, oh, like I got like an achy jaw and an achy like back of my head here. But no, this time it was like 4 days. It was just like, oh my God. I know I've inserted a few photos and videos throughout here, but I really wanted to do another, you know, before I went in and got the attachments put in compared to today. Honestly, it's a pretty magical process. Like, we have so much progress documented in these videos and in my photos, and it's a really cool process that I still do recommend to people because it really has made a huge difference in my smile. Like, it's a really cool thing that I got to do that I didn't have to do braces for, and though it was expensive and it was something that I had to save for a year or two, I don't have any regrets, and I don't have any like real rush right now to get it done. Like I know it'll get done soon. Like I'm not trying to do this for 4 more years. I'm saying like if it were to take 6 to 8 more months, I wouldn't be bummed about it. But also I don't think it's gonna take that long because we're basically isolating a single tooth at this point to try and get it to do what we want. Or if it's just there's not enough tooth left to even move because it is a really small tooth, we'll have that conversation. But I do love my smile. I loved it before we started this process. I love it now too because it's straight and it's gonna be better for my oral hygiene for the rest of my life, and there'll be less, you know, crowding, and it's just a win-win all around. One last look. A basically perfect arc, right? Uh-huh. You know how straggly this tooth used to be? It used to be like, woo, like a little rocket canning its way out of my mouth. And then the top, I need to move the camera for this. These two just like pulled themselves down, and it was an incredible process to watch and to witness and to document over the first basically 10 or 11 weeks. That one happened very fast. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little update. I know there weren't a ton of clips or footage and stuff, but this is like an actual update once we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the finer details. So even though it's less transformative than the first 2 videos, it is still a pretty dynamic change that we have seen, because now it's basically settling into what it's going to look like permanently. And I'm excited to chat with the dentist on Monday and to grab some footage for this video then and get this video out before the end of the year. So yeah, it's like a year-end wrap-up of Invisalign and a lot of cool, we've taken a long journey together with this, and I'm really grateful that I had access to get it to do it even this year, because it's something that was kind of just like a pipe dream for the last like 5 years, and I just kind of accepted that that was what my smile was going to look like. And then I finally sat down and was just like, I'm gonna do this, and it was not an easy decision, but it is one that I am very grateful that I made.
Invisalign update. It is Monday, December 19th, and it is snowing outside, and I'm standing by the BC Place because I wanted to give my update. I just left the dentist's office. Here are some clips from that.
I really don't like these because of my strong gag reflex. Turns out I can actually get some of my cavities filled today to use some of my benefits for this year, so I'm very happy about that. They said they're doing quadrant 1, so I would assume it's up here or up here. I don't know which one, but yeah.
The dentist was incredible today. They let me fix 3 cavities that I was forming during the Invisalign process, even though originally they didn't think that we were gonna have time or be able to do it before the end of this year, because they don't do it while you're doing trays and treatments still. So when I went in today, they're like, do you want to get a couple of them fixed? I was like, absolutely I do, because then I don't have to carry over or lose a bunch of benefits because I can't carry them over. So they covered a bunch of it today and fixed a bunch so that I wasn't going to have to pay a bunch of it out of pocket next year, which was so kind. So not only do they do that, they added an the attachment here is a lot bigger than it was before in order to make it more easy to grab onto, so that we could actually see some progress in the next 3.5 weeks. And I won't be able to be back until January, but that's fine because now I have a plan for the rest of the time and it'll actually grab onto this tooth, so I'm so excited. So it is currently December 22nd. It's been 3 days since I got the cavities filled, and they're feeling fine. They're feeling good. They mentioned that it could be a bit sore. I haven't had any issues, honestly, so they just did a really good job. They didn't hit any nerve or do anything like that I can tell so far that would have caused any complications or pain after getting those cavities fixed, which is wonderful. I'm gonna end this Invisalign update section here because I do have something coming up in the new year at some point to discuss next steps, maybe do more scans, so I'll save that for the next video. This video is already getting up to like 15 minutes or so, so I wanted to keep the rest of that in its own video because I really have nothing else to update on yet, other than I can tell that this tooth is doing something. Even in 3 days, having a larger attachment for the trays to grab onto, I think, is actually making a really big difference. I'm also noticing this tooth is at such an angle, like it's like pointy on the inside part. And when I was numb a couple of days ago, I felt something chip off of it. I don't think they added anything underneath it. I think it's just like, it was some leftover from when they were shaving stuff off, and it must have gotten stuck somewhere in my mouth, and I was numb, so I couldn't really tell what was going on. But yeah, thanks for thanks for watching this video. I look forward to doing the next update, seeing more progress, and just having a better idea of where we're gonna land in the new year when I go back after this last set of trays is fully done. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.